All right.
Right.
Welcome to the Domestic Draft
Man.
Podcast. I'm Evan Bierman here with Dan Sloak. Dan, I see we both got some beers. Why don't you kick it off? Let us know what you're drinking first. We got a lot to get into today.
Yeah, excited about the show coming up. I have a beer here from a brewery in San Diego. It's called Bay City Brewing Company. They have quite a history. I mean, the name of this brewing company was actually founded in like 1911. Obviously, it hasn't been running throughout continuously for that long, but this company around 2015 started brewing again. And in 2017, they won the fastest growing craft breweries award from the Brewers Association. I've been to their tap room plenty of times because they are situated right outside our stadium here in San Diego, and it's kind of like an all-state arena type deal where they have like the minor league hockey team plays there, our concerts go there. So Bay City Brewing Company is literally like in the parking lot of that stadium. You go there, you drink their beer, and then you head on over for a good time. They have tap rooms on other locations throughout the city as well. But the beer I'm drinking from them is called Fiesta Island Pilsner. I mean, like it just shows you that it's what it's all about. On the cover, it's got like a little like pug and sunglasses, and it's just about summer. It's an easy drinking beer. Fiesta Island, if you're not familiar, it's an area here in San Diego where like you come for the weekend, you can camp there. I see people doing all types of activities like jet skiing. People bring like little dirt bikes. It's literally this kind of floating island situated between like Mission Bay and SeaWorld where it's kind of, you can grill out. It's doesn't seem too regulated, and you can kind of go there and have a party like the name entails, Fiesta Island. And the beer is actually really good. It's a 3.5 and untapped. It's a nice clean Pilsner. It's got a little bit of a summer vibe to it with some, I don't know what kind of hops are going on there, but it makes it like a nice, refreshing, crisp beer. Getting ready for the summer here in San Diego. What about you, man? What are you drinking?
So I'm doing Phase 3 Brewing. We've done them on the show plenty of times, so I'm not going to give you the whole rundown, but you can kind of see they're going through a bit of a rebrand here. And we got our guy, Gavin Fahey, over at Phase 3, hooked me up with some beers. This one called Salmon Pants. It's one of the new beers that they just put out about 5 days ago. So brand new beer. The name Salmon Pants, kind of an interesting beer name. It's a cool can too, but the name, I guess, is in part of part of the new rebranding is kind of looking at their employees and who they are. And so the one of the co-founders names Evan. His favorite pants are these salmon pants that he wears. So it's kind of making fun a little bit, playing at his wardrobe, a little bit at his expense. But no, it's really cool. It's a cool little rebrand. Like I said, they got these black cans now, so something you don't see every day with all these other breweries. But this beer gets a 4 out of 5 on Untapped. It's 6% hazy IPA. So they've got the Lake Zurich Brewery and tap room, and then they have the Elmhurst tap room and kitchen, which part of this whole rebrand. They're redoing their menu there as well. So the chef's got some new stuff cooking up over there. But speaking of food, we have an exciting episode today. We're going to be talking Food Fight and the Food Fight app with co-founder Troy Lenihan. Troy, thanks so much for joining us. I see you got a drink as well. What are you drinking?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm drinking a White Claw, the peach.
All right.
It's the original seltzer, as I'll say.
Craft
So,
seltzer. Yeah.
yeah, we've worked with White Claw for almost a year now. So, gonna give them a little credit where credit is due, and enjoy it myself. So, thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. And then if you want to find them, they're at Food Fight app on Instagram, and look at the website, www.getfoodfight.com. I saw your social media and immediately kind of was intrigued at what this is. And it looks like, and we're going to ask about like how this all started, but it looks like, you're out with friends. You're like, hey, I think the Bulls are going to win this game. You want to put the sandwich, you pay for my sandwich if that works out. And that kind of feels like maybe the origin story of this, but like, how did this idea come about? And how did Food Fight get started?
Yeah, so Food Fight as an idea is, bringing together sports fans that are hungry and thirsty and figuring out who's paying for the tab. And how it came about was in college. My college roommate and I, he's my co-founder, we went to DePaul on the north side of the city and watched a lot of sports together. I'm a Packers fan. He's a Bears fan. And instead of, betting $5 on the
wasn't
game.
Available tonight. We couldn't get him on.
He's funny enough. He's actually in San Diego, but doing startup stuff, there's always something to be done. So he's busy on some calls. But yeah, he's a big Bears fan. I'm a big Packers fan. So we would food fight on the games and do it for pitchers of beer, do it for pizza, for, all sorts of different things. And I won a lot of food over the past, couple of years.
Yeah, as a Packers fan, I can imagine. But so are you from the Chicagoland area then, going to DePaul, or where are you originally from? Just kind of give us your backstory and maybe what you studied at DePaul too, how you got to this point, and
Yeah, I grew up in Naperville. My co-founder
Okay.
grew up in Glen Ellen, and then we met at DePaul. I went to school for secondary education for math, and he went to school for foreign policy, I believe. So no one really kind of ended up in where they were going for, but
Okay.
we've always been big sports fans, entrepreneurs ourselves, and just kind of decided to go full time recently in this venture, and really pursue it heavily. We've been building the platform for over 2 years now, and really continuing to iterate, make the platform better and better, and offer more and more features, more and more games, more sports, and have gotten it to quite a cool point at this time, and are doing a lot of events in Chicago.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about like where it started, and that the first days of having an app and trying to build an app, and then that process to where it's at now, and maybe some
Yeah.
of the success stories along the way, or some of the things that didn't work
Evan
out.
and I had a website in college. It didn't really go anywhere, but I'm assuming like we all have these ideas, right? So how did it actually go from idea conversation to now up and running?
Yeah, so the first phase was we tried to build out a business model and apply to an accelerator at University of Chicago, where Phil was getting his master's. We didn't get in. We weren't even close. Looking back at it, I would have never let us into that accelerator program, considering how like prestigious it is, and we were super idea phase at the time. But then after we didn't get in, we decided to continue. And what we did was built an Excel doc that was connected to just like a shared Excel doc. I would go around to people at sports bars in Chicago and try to get them to food fight each other or food fight me. And then Phil would be on the other end texting people manually on his laptop at home, watching the games and picking winners and losers. So it was very manual at the beginning. And then we decided to start building it out, built the first platform, had some of those texts fire automatically, but still kind of determining the sports odds and the different outcomes of the games. And then slowly and surely we got more and more automated with the system, and now we have most of the major sports. We have all the games, the team colors. It all looks nice and buttoned up, but it was a 2-year process to get there. We used a lot of intern help from Chicago colleges, and some help wherever we could find it, really.
And having it be like a 2-person operation, is this just like wake up, eat, sleep, and drink, food fight? And I see you're doing like a lot of like ground boots on the ground marketing. You're putting stickers throughout like cities that you're visiting. And then are you just going in the restaurants and bars and being like, hey, I have this thing, you want to partner with it?
Yeah. So at first, that's exactly how it happened. I would ride around on my bike in the summer of Chicago and talk to bar managers and owners and see their level of interest and hold events and get people engaged manually. Then we elevated that and started working with beverage brands and harnessing their networks to go to restaurant groups and more diverse restaurants that are we might have not had introductions into at the beginning. And then when it comes to, sorry, the other half of the question was building it out. Like, yeah, that took that was much more Phil's end of things, where when it comes to the development of the platform, we had to build it one step at a time and kind of hired intern help for that.
And you guys have been through rounds of funding as well. Have you received quite a bit of funding to this point? What does that process look like? No? Okay.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, I think, especially coming into like 2022, starting the company was kind of a hard time to secure that idea phase of funding. But since then, we've raised a small amount of friends and family, really been as frugal as possible. Actually, in one of my videos, it's about like spending as little money as possible while being as productive as possible for the company. But to this day, we're raising our pre-seed currently, and are closing that out in the next couple of weeks here, and then going to go full time with it 100%. But for the most part, me and my co-founder Phil have been working full-time jobs and doing this at night, during the day, whenever we have availability, we're doing this. it's surprising how much we can get done and still work full time.
Yeah. So I want to have you break this down. I know just as we're moving forward and with the prevalence of social media and TikTok, especially, like gathering information in like 10, 20 seconds is where you're going to get a lot of your demographics. So if you had to explain Food Fight for dummies, like the quick one-liner or elevator pitch of what is Food Fight, how does it exactly work? What's like your TikTok reel of what is Food Fight?
Yeah, so there's two main models. The in-person model where you and I are sitting at a sports bar, we scan our QR code, get engaged, and wager a round of beers on whoever scores next. Whoever loses that food fight pays for the tab. Same thing for our delivery platform, where food fighters can be in the comfort of their own home, agree to terms on food fight. Whoever loses that agreement pays for the delivered pizza or basket of wings.
Love it. There it is.
Gotcha. So what
Been
was
practicing.
what was the initial response when you first started to pitch this to places like I see you guys are partnered with Mother Hubbard's downtown, one of my favorite bars downtown. But what was the response that you saw from some of these bars right off the bat? Were they just like, what are you talking about? No, what
Yeah.
is this thing? Or, or was everybody pretty open arms about it? Hey, this is going to draw in more business. Okay, let's go.
Well, we built it with bars and restaurants in mind, trying to encourage people to stay longer and spend more. So we want to support bars and restaurants however possible. My background's in bars and restaurants for the past 10 years. I've been managing, bartending, basically working whatever position a restaurant offers. And just kind of speaking their language has been helpful for me to tell them, hey, we're just trying to give you an additive experience for the patrons coming in, and have them, spend more, agree on these kind of already established gentleman agreements, just kind of formalize it a little bit more. So the success rate has been great when it comes to going around and talking to bars and restaurant owners. Mother Hubbard's was our first adopter. The owner is actually, a good friend of ours. He's, joining our advisory board as well. And having him on board has been great, just understanding what goals are for him on his end. And that also helped facilitate relationships with the different beverage brands who might want to get involved as well.
And speaking of like goals, kind of my next question was just like, all right, planning it out maybe like 5 years from now, like what is the view in your head for Food Fight? Where do you think it's going, and how do you want it to develop after you've done your rounds of fundraising and you officially launch it?
Yeah, so I mean, we're launched. You can food fight with your friends at bars in Chicago. You can food fight for delivery. But when it comes to the next 5 years, just want to, continue building out a platform that takes the seriousness out of sports like betting. I think it's a crazy, hyper, intense industry where people are there's a lot of math involved, a lot of numbers. It's kind of built to confuse people. And we want to just have a more relatable platform where people can agree on, very simple terms. And even if you lose, you kind of win in a way because you're setting your friends some food. So yeah, just a very lighthearted platform, but continue to build it out, make it as easy as possible for people to use. That's a big push of mine, is just the less clicks, the better. And just build something that I guess I can continue to support, because I don't actually sports bet. I just food fight. So I think it's something for everyone.
And when can we expect you on Shark Tank with this idea?
I mean, hopefully soon. I don't think that's the correct place for us, unless we'd be just talking to Mark Cuban the whole time.
Yeah,
We'd just be like, hey man,
games, let's go.
This is for
get
you.
in the stadium.
Yeah, this is very cool. You can sell more concessions, but yeah, we're hoping to get into the in-stadium model in the next 5 years to give fans an experience there as well. But yeah, when it comes to Shark Tank and just pitching in general, we're always pitching right now. For the past 6 months, we've been pitching. We go to conferences and we pitch, and really we'll talk to whoever listens. And that's both on the fundraising side of the coin and on bars and restaurants. So if your listeners know any bars or restaurants that think Food Fight would be a good fit, shoot me an email.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I feel like it's most all like sports bars, right? And I think stadiums, that sounds like very appealing for this kind of application, to just kind of have it maybe at your seat, or like while you go up to buy a beer. You go there with friends, or you go there with family, and you want to make like those friendly wagers that we all do naturally. right? But now you can like solidify it here with this application and kind of feel like more legit about it and keep track of it. Cause I know sometimes I forget to actually follow through with these things.
Exactly. That's a big part of our platform. We have our history page. You can see your friend's history and who they lost to and for what. So yeah, keeping track of it is very important for bragging rights. And we'll see how the future looks.
Awesome, man. Well, if there's any bars listening right now, is there any, like, how can they reach out to you? Should they just reach out to you through Instagram or
The website?
direct message, website?
Yeah, Instagram, or you can find me at Troy at getfoodfight.com. It's very easy. We can hopefully put that in the comments below. But yeah, any bar owners or bar managers that think it would be a good fit, it's totally free of charge. We just want to, get more food fighters out there, push more sales for you guys, and just let people get in the game.
And the idea is to go like city by city?
Yeah, so I'm actually out in New York now, starting to build our bar network here. We're a pretty good, robust network in Chicago. My co-founder is actually in San Diego as well, building out, some bars over there. It's not
A lot of
not as
breweries to
big.
go ahead and pass it off at.
Yeah, exactly. I think breweries would be a great spot as well. Sports entertainment is just growing in nature, I think, and the market definitely reflects that. And different engagement tools are out there to connect fans with the sports. So I'm excited for our future, and I think each state, as they decide whether sports gaming is legal or not, can participate in a food fight. So giving people that alternative goal is really something we want to keep pushing.
Well, Troy, thanks so much for coming on and telling us about Food Fight. Again, it's the Food Fight app. You can find it in the App Store. They're at Food Fight app on Insta. Their website is getfoodfight.com, at getfoodfight on TikTok. I mean, to me, it just makes sense, right? People aren't carrying cash anymore. If you're running into a stranger playing some pool or something and you guys want to wager some beers, like, this is the way to do it. So I love this idea. I wish you guys all the best. And thanks so much for coming on here and sharing, your story. And
I'm looking forward to walking into like a brewery in San Diego and just kind of seeing the logo and the QR code and be like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
We were here at the beginning. We're helping kind of expose and expand this brand to all coast. So I'm hopeful for you guys, and I'm going to be rooting for you.
Yeah, we appreciate the support, and hopefully we can make that dream a reality.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Troy.
All right, bye guys.
Thanks, man.
All right. Thanks again to our guest, Troy Lenihan of Food Fight, co-founder of Food Fight, for coming on. Really interesting idea, Dan. One that I had never thought of and actually, hadn't seen until recently, but it's really cool that he's, a local guy, Naperville guy, went to DePaul.
Yeah.
This, started in Chicago. I love that. So check out Food Fight. If you see it at Mother Hubbard's downtown or any of the bars around the Chicagoland area, they're in quite a bit of bars, I guess. So, use the app and, if you want to send us a message and let us know how it is,
Right. Just a little something to kind of just, like increase your night out, put a little more entertainment into it with, deciding who's going to pay for your meal or your food.
Wings taste better when you don't have to pay for them.
It's true. That is a scientific fact.
Yeah, it is. All right, Dan, you know what else is a scientific fact is the Cubs have been pretty bad lately. And I think we talked about them kind of when they were beginning to be on the decline there.
Yep.
Couple weeks
2 weeks ago.
But they lost 5 straight in 10 of their last 13. The offense has been pretty bad. And we talked about it a little bit before, but it's gotten worse. They hit 188, over that span. It's like a
major league low.
Averaging only 2.5 runs a game over the last 2.5 weeks. So not good. Pitching's been mediocre. Ben Brown's looked pretty solid.
Had a great start tonight against Milwaukee.
Assad struggling a little bit, especially against the Cardinals the other night. Paul Goldschmidt hit a couple bombs off him, Goldschmidt's been struggling all season. So you don't like to see that. So I don't know.
I think it's time for a little bit of movement, We spent PCA down and he's torching it down there. So maybe we recall him, maybe some other talent. I think we need to get rid of the Madrigal and Mastroboni. I don't know what they provide to an offense. I know they're sure gloves, but I mean, Madrigal had that error yesterday too that pretty much lost the game. And our top of the middle of the lineup players aren't playing like it. They're not being big boppers. Ian Happ is having probably one of his worst career years out of his career. He's having one of his worst years. Bellinger coming back from the broken rib. Saya coming back from the oblique. They're both not looking like themselves. It's just, I mean, you want to be an optimist? Cool. Let's just say that this is the best time to do it, right? Before, we really get into the dog days of summer and then playoffs near, we don't want to be playing our worst baseball. Why not just do it right now, right? And I think everyone gets always so caught up in the season, like the Cubs stink, this team's awful. If you want to be an optimist, there's 182 games. Let's make sure we're finding our groove when the time really matters. But I think you're going to see some trades. I think you need to find a catcher who can hit, because both of them on the roster aren't doing anything in the batter's box. And then I think you got to get, I know like Pete Alonso has always been shopped around. I think you got to get a big bat in the lineup. I don't know who else might be made available of teams that are really underperforming. Maybe you look at Colorado. I don't know if the money works, but I mean, bring Chris Bryant back to the Cubs. He's terrible in Colorado. He's a ton of money. I don't think that works at all. But I mean, we need a bat. We need a bat in this lineup, and not just the DH. Somebody who can play every day and just really solidify the middle of the order. And that's supposed to be Bellinger, but it's not working. And I think you need to make some moves here. I think Jed needs to get a little creative and make some changes to the roster.
They got some bats in the minors. I don't know about bringing back Bryant.
That's
I don't know about
happen.
that. That's
not going to happen.
Or even Alonso would be nice. It would be really nice. But I think they would be better served looking to the minors and bring Pete Crow-Armstrong back up. Owen Casey, bringing him up. They got some bats down there that they can bring up. They got some pitching down there that they can start to bring up. Cade Horton's going to come up at some point here. And they're still in the mix here, 27-27, but they did lose 8 of their last 10.
Mm-hmm.
The Cardinals won 8 of their last 10. They're pretty dead even with the Cubs now. Cardinals were in last time we spoke. So it's still a tight NL Central. The Brewers up top, 4.5 games ahead of the Cubs.
Yeah.
I don't know that this Brewers team is that great.
I don't think anyone in the NL Central is that great, really.
Yeah.
Probably one of the worst.
It's a weak.
Yeah.
It's a weak division.
We thought it was going to be pretty good. We thought, the Reds were going to continue to ascend, and they've been terrible this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Cardinals are always going to be there, but none of the teams really scare anyone, I think, around the league either.
Yeah.
And we should be taking advantage of that.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll see where they're at next week when we talk. But, right now.
It could all change, right? It could all change. Baseball's like that. You go on one good week, your average can raise by 50 points. Looks back to like your career, baseball, back of the baseball card numbers. Baseball's a crazy sport.
That's this team too. It's just not a super consistent team. And so even if they were to make it to the playoffs, I don't know how far this team would be able to go. They're just not super consistent.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see where it goes, but they still have a chance. They'll always have a chance in this division.
Good starting pitching. Gives you a chance.
Well, that's been our show today. Thanks again to our guest, Troy Lenihan of Food Fight, for joining us. For Dan Sloak, I'm Evan Bierman. You've been listening to the Domestic Draft Podcast. If you're listening on Spotify, don't forget to rate the show. You can find us on Twitter at Domestic Draft, on Instagram at Domestic Draft Podcast. Our website is domesticdraft.com. And you can watch the show on YouTube. Just search up Domestic Draft and drop us a sub. Thanks again for listening. Cheers.